I am a promising disciple destined to reach the peak of the great Tao in the sect. Acclaimed as a top-tier genius, yet I took a loser drunkard from the sect who hasn't even refined a golden core as my master. Only because within the heavenly mirror at the grand immortal exam, I saw my own future. Pierced through the heart by Liu Ruyan's sword, my inner core gouged out, all just to help his beloved cultivate an immortal body. Seeing me take a drunkard as my master, everyone around was completely stunned. Everyone thought I had gone insane. Liu Ruyan is a once-in-a-century sword Dao genius, who only takes a disciple once every 55 years. Meanwhile, Li Xia doesn't even have a golden core. Thanks to her biological mother's life-risking achievements, she became an honorary elder at Foundation Establishment Peak. According to the immortal exam rules, if the top 3 candidates choose a master, the elder cannot refuse. But my MC Li Xia merely raised her cold phoenix eyes, glanced at me once, and said absolutely nothing. She just raised her hand and tossed something over. By reflex, I caught it. It was the wine gourd she had just been drinking from. By paying respects the moment I received it, the master-disciple seal formed in a flash of golden light. After a month of silence, Liu Ruyan finally withdrew his hand. From the void, his icy voice echoed down to the extreme. Ignorant. I became famous overnight because of this battle. Everywhere I go, people point and gossip about me. That's the guy who rejected the great immortal Liu Ruyan to take that piece of trash as his master instead. Even if he dominated the heavenly mirror and is considered a genius, he's still just a Foundation Establishment stage brat. Missing his chance with Liu Ruyan, what progress can his cultivation make in the future? Sigh, what a waste of this apprenticeship slot. Great immortal Liu Ruyan only takes a disciple once every 55 years. Now we have to wait another 55 years. I treat these words like wind past my ears, buried in books all day. There's no other way. Who told my master to be such a loser? In this entire Foundation Establishment Peak, I am the only disciple. After Li Xia brought me back, she tossed me the keys to the library pavilion, told me to cultivate on my own, and vanished. Probably went to sleep. Moreover, Foundation Establishment Peak is located far from the main peak. The spiritual energy is pitifully sparse. It's basically unsuitable for cultivation. I can only wait for the 1st and 15th of the month to go to the main peak for supplies to catch a bit of stray spiritual energy. To kill time during the rest of the month, I wander the library pavilion, pondering over books. Because of this, the whole sect thinks I've given up on myself. Some sneer with contempt, others sigh with regret. There's even a crowd running a betting pool to see how long I'll last, before I finally kneel and beg Liu Ruyan to take me in again. Little did they know, they wouldn't see me crying in despair, but instead heard news that Liu Ruyan was about to take a disciple. On the day of Liu Ruyan's apprenticeship ceremony, the main peak was filled with golden light. I happened to be there for supplies. I accidentally leached off quite a few spirit stones. When I finished and stepped out onto the square, it was packed with people. A youth standing in the crowd spoke in a clear voice. Can I answer your questions later? Master, return the stuff I just got. Let's go back quickly. As he finished, sighs of admiration rang out and the crowd parted automatically. A youth wearing a pale gold brocade robe with a high ponytail jumped up the stairs and met me face to face. He tilted his head and looked at me, flashing a carefree, cheerful smile. I heard. Half a year ago, you refused to join my master's sect. I thought you were some kind of peerless genius, but to think after half a year, you're still at Foundation Establishment Peak? I looked at him with suspicion, wondering where this unprovoked malice from this youth was coming from. At that moment, someone behind called him. Nam An. Ignore him. He's just a piece of trash. So what if he was first in the exam? Joining Foundation Peak means his path of cultivation is effectively over. But you, Nam An, are different. I heard great immortal Liu Ruyan really cares about you. My heart sank slightly. I muttered the name Nam An under my breath. Word is not long ago, Liu Ruyan left the mountain and casually enlightened an iris flower. After taking human form, the youth was lively and clever, clinging to Liu Ruyan and demanding to be his husband. Liu Ruyan refused several times. The youth pretended to be obedient, but turned around and followed him to the Changhang sect. To avoid being bullied by outer disciples, he cried piteously until Liu Ruyan personally appeared to rescue him. From what I know, Liu Ruyan treats his disciples very well. Furthermore, based on what the heavenly mirror showed, I was once wholeheartedly devoted to Liu Ruyan, yet he still gouged out my inner core for this Nam An. What kind of figure is Liu Ruyan? How could he not know Nam An was stalking him? He simply gave silent consent. One could even say he indulged that behavior. Nam An really enjoyed these types of romantic rumors. He narrowed his eyes and smiled, taking out a 7-string glazed zither from his storage ring, his jade-like fingers slowly grazing the strings. He bragged that these 7 strings were pulled from the tendons of ancient great beasts. As for the body of this zither, he paused for a moment, his gaze scanning my empty waist. I heard the jade pendant master intended to give you that day was made of profound ice, a very rare material. But the entire body of my zither is made of profound ice. I see, so he's here to flex. I glanced at him, then at the excited crowd on the square, waiting to see the two of us fight. After a moment of silence, I put on a serious academic expression and slowly asked, "Then tell me specifically, what is the origin of this profound ice? Which beasts were the seven strings taken from? Where did your master find such a treasure?" I asked this for a reason. Nam-en had quite a few treasures on him. The spiritual energy was so dense it was about to liquefy. I've been stuck at mid-foundation establishment for a while. Being near him like this, my cultivation showed faint signs of shifting. I only chatted with him to keep him there a bit longer. Who knows, I might actually break through. My goal was very simple. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Nam-an froze for a moment and almost cried. His face suddenly flushed as he stomped his feet loudly. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "You think you know so much? What right do you have to humiliate me?" Nam-an was drowned in a sense of humiliation. He didn't even bother taking his stuff, turning to run while screaming, "Just you wait, at the next immortal exam, I will definitely make you lose by my hand." I was stunned. I knew he was Liu Ruyan's future partner, but I had zero intention of seeking revenge. Our power gap was too huge anyway. I just wanted to stay away and keep things quiet. How did I suddenly manage to offend him? I returned to Foundation Establishment Peak feeling dejected. Suddenly, a dark shadow appeared in front of me. Right after that, the supplies I had just received were snatched away. Licia dumped everything out. She counted the spirit stones twice, then pursed her lips in dissatisfaction. The old hags at the main peak are getting stingier by the day. "Master, please leave some for me." She didn't answer, her hand rummaging for a bit longer before she suddenly spoke up in surprise. "What is this?" Just as she finished, a butterfly flew out. It transformed into a line of text in midair, announcing the immortal exam. The participant was Beimu, Henry Nam-an. No wonder he dared to talk so big. Turns out he had received the notification early. He's planning to humiliate me during the immortal exam. This is going to be big trouble. Licia, however, appeared completely indifferent. She grabbed the spirit stones and prepared to leave. Seeing this, I hurriedly hugged her legs and pleaded desperately, "Master, you have to help me. Don't let me die too miserably." Licia shrugged. "You've seen the state of our mountain yourself. This master is also powerless to help." "I'm literally crying, Master. You're still a sect elder after all. At least give me some kind of epic dharma treasure. That cousin of mine is acting all aggressive. I'm afraid I won't see tomorrow's sun, then just forfeit. But if I get a high rank, I'll be rewarded with spirit stones. I have no choice, I'm just too poor." Usually, the spirit stones sent from the main peak never even reach my hands. The minor secret realm opens in 3 months. I wanted to save up to buy some defensive talismans. Suddenly, Licia's eyes lit up the moment she heard that. "How many spirit stones?" I held up 5 fingers, thought for a second, then tucked 2 fingers back. "If I make the top 100, the reward is 300 high-grade spirit stones. Every extra person I beat adds another 100. 300 is not bad." Licia pondered for a moment. Then she pulled a key from her storage bag and tossed it to me. "This is the key to my Dharma Treasure Pavilion. Take whatever you want." I saw Licia say this with such grand generosity. On the way to the pavilion, my heart was overflowing with emotion. My mind was imagining all sorts of legendary treasures. Opening the door, the smell of mold hit me right in the face. I knew Foundation Establishment Peak was poor, but I didn't expect it to be this poor. Even the Dharma Treasure Pavilion was a joke. Calling it a pavilion, it was actually just a small wooden shack covered in cobwebs. The so-called Dharma treasure was just a pitch-black sword, completely covered in rust. The hilt was as thick as both my arms combined. It was incredibly heavy. Cultivators at my level usually already have their own custom swords. Either they're extremely OP or extremely flashy. But this kind that's neither OP nor aesthetic, taking it out would make people laugh their teeth off. But it's better than nothing. From that day on, I officially started practicing my swordsmanship. The heart method was something I patched together from the library pavilion. The sword moves were bits and pieces collected from everywhere. I couldn't even lift the 200-kilogram sword at first. What I did most every day was just push it from right to left, then swing it back to the right. Time flew by like a shuttle. Before long, the first round of the immortal exam arrived. A month later, in my very first match, I ran into my arch nemesis, Beiji, who came from the same Bei cultivation clan as me. The difference was he was from the main branch, while I was just from a side branch. At the cultivation ceremony, Beiji actually had 0 talent. But because his dad was rich, the moment he stepped onto the stage, he pulled out a ton of treasures. Protective talismans, formation plates, and of course, the sword I had coveted for a long time. Whispers and gossip broke out all around. Beiji is being too cruel. Beimu is from the same clan as him after all. Is there a need to be so ruthless, don't you know? Beiji has been very close to Nam-en lately. Oh, I see. Look, Beimu is so calm, could he have a counter strategy? Under the anticipation of 10,000 people, I slowly pulled that massive rusted sword from my storage bag. Naturally, it made them laugh their teeth off, especially Beiji, who laughed like a complete idiot. He laughed so hard he couldn't even stand up straight. But I didn't have time to think. Beiji lunged to attack. I took 2 steps back. In a moment of desperation, I swung the sword by instinct. Just like always, I swung from right to left. To my surprise, before the tip even touched the ground, Bajia was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. He slammed onto the stone platform and spat out a mouthful of blood. Beimu! The spectating crowd went dead silent. Did you see his technique clearly? What technique? He clearly just used one move and blew Beiji away. That's terrifying. He's even using a piece of scrap metal. Can't imagine what would happen with a real Dharma treasure. Just how strong is he? As expected of the top exam candidate, it seems talent is still everything. The crowd began to buzz with excitement. All eyes were focused on me. They had no idea that the scrap metal sword in my hand was crazily absorbing the spiritual power within Beiji's treasures. By the time he regained his senses and limped onto the stage to reclaim his items, he discovered his treasures, which cost 10,000 gold, had completely lost their efficacy. I continued to slash through the competition, making a straight dash for the top 50. I don't know if it was just my imagination, but the rust on that great sword seemed to have faded by a layer. Strange runes were faintly appearing on the surface. But I didn't have time to care, because right now I was busy counting spirit stones until my hands were tired. As a dirt-poor disciple of Foundation Establishment Peak, I was truly enjoying the joy of a nouveau reach. Right then, a dark shadow suddenly fell in front of me. Dressed in an ivory white Dharma robe, Nam-an descended before me like a star among moons, boldly declaring a challenge. As he spoke, the 7-string zither in his hand vibrated in sync, shaking violently, as if it were nodding. According to the immortal exam rules, higher-ranked participants have the right to challenge lower-ranked ones. Nam-an had made the top 20. Naturally, he was qualified to challenge me, and I couldn't refuse. He still smiled at me. Big brother, I thought you weren't qualified to be my opponent. But I didn't expect you to be quite capable. The feeling as he approached, it was as if I were surrounded by dense spiritual energy. Here it comes again. I narrowed my eyes comfortably and happily accepted Nam-an's challenge. The reason was simple. Spirit root cultivation is harder than human cultivation. Besides, I was the top candidate of the exam. Even if my current conditions were poor, thanks to my consecutive wins in previous matches, my confidence was at an all-time high. Even if I couldn't beat Nam-an, I could just stall for time with him. Leeching off a bit of his spiritual energy was good enough. Plus, it wasn't certain that I would lose. I thought everything would be simple. Who knew that after only 2 moves, Nam-an had already sent me flying. His soft-soled boot stepped hard onto my face, and on that delicate, innocent face, a look of extreme obsession was revealed. Master said I was born without a spirit root. Even if I can cultivate, I can never develop an immortal bone. Though he didn't say it clearly, I know. He feels a bit disappointed deep down. This is the one regret for both me and Master. Yet something so precious. You obtain so easily, and yet, you trample on your talent by taking a loser as your master. How can she even compare to my master? But it's fine. As long as I destroy your spirit root, we will be exactly the same. You'll be even worse than me. Master won't regret missing out on you anymore. He'll only care about me. Nam-an spoke while plucking the 7-string zither in his hands. The moment the music started, the bones and meridians in my body felt like they were shattering. The pain forced me to cough up a spray of fresh blood. The elders watching the match noticed this, but they only furrowed their brows. No one stepped in to stop it. The immortal exam doesn't care about life or death. They wouldn't interfere. If this continues, I'm toast. Inside my head right now, I'm frantically recalling every cultivation technique I saw in the library pavilion. Regardless of whether they're useful, I tried them all one by one. I don't know how long I kept trying, but the heavy sword in my hand suddenly hummed. I instinctively raised my hand. A chilling sword intent lunged straight at Nam-an. In that hair-raising moment, my wrist stung with sharp pain. The heavy sword was knocked away, and the last string of consciousness in my head snapped. Instantly, I struggled to look up. I could only faintly see a white-robed figure, shattering the arena's barrier and pulling Nam-an into his arms. It was Liu Ruyan. When I woke up, the room was bright, clean, and warm as spring. It was so nice, I almost thought I had reached the southern heaven gate to meet the gods. But when I turned my head and saw Liu Ruyan sitting nearby sipping tea, I wished I could gouge my own eyes out and pretend I never saw him. You're awake. I have questions. Liu Ruyan didn't turn around. I moved my body, finding that my damaged meridians had all been healed. What is it? Liu Ruyan tapped on the rusty, spotted heavy sword next to him and got straight to the point. This is an evil blade. It can drain the spiritual energy from Dharma treasures. It had 49 seals placed upon it. But thanks to you, one of those seals has been broken. My eyes widened in absolute heartbreak. Big brother sword, is this the kind of great sword you really are? I treated you like a brother, but you treated me like a test subject? Immediately after, I looked at Liu Ruyan with suspicion. Why are you telling me this? I don't know anything. I know you were unintentional, which is why I brought you here. I was also afraid you'd be tainted by the evil energy. But this sword appearing in the Changhang sect suggests someone is plotting something. Stay here for now. Once I've investigated, I'll let you go. Liu Ruyan finished and prepared to leave. I let out a cold sneer. Is the great immortal just going to leave like that? He froze. He glanced at me with a look of confusion. That expression seemed to say, "You actually dare to speak to me like that?" The great immortal shows favoritism for his disciple while ignoring the life of a fellow sect member. How truly immoral. Shouldn't you offer me some compensation? Everything happened for a reason. It was an emergency. I don't care, you injured me. What if I develop a heart demon because of this? And it ruins my cultivation? How will you settle that? Liu Ruyan remained silent for a long time, before slowly asking, what do you want? You knocked my swords away, injured me, and now you're forcing me to stay here, ruining my chances in the immortal exam. If you don't give me 10,000 high-grade spirit stones, Mao shall want. I'm not letting this go. He wordlessly tossed a storage bag to me. There were 50,000 inside. Though I come from a remote place like Foundation Peak, my master Licia only has me as a disciple. She gives me the best of everything. Come to think of it, I lived a luxury life there. I wasn't dirt poor like the rumors said. So, for the days I stay at your place, I must have the best of everything. Liu Ruyan looked at me skeptically. I immediately snapped it. You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, send a message to my master and ask. I don't know what Liu Ruyan was thinking, but the veins on his forehead were throbbing. He had no choice but to silently agree to my demands. I certainly won't let you suffer regarding food and clothing. As for lodging, he said expressionlessly, the best place on Kanglan Peak is my listening bamboo pavilion. If you don't mind, I'll have someone prepare a room for you later. After saying that, as if fearing I'd make another ridiculous demand, he vanished in an instant. Honestly, I didn't want to stay here so close to him, but seeing Nam An's pale, furious face, looking like he wanted to rip me apart, my mood suddenly brightened. I shouted to the servants cleaning the room, hurry it up, don't keep great immortal Liu Ruyan waiting. And so, I stayed at Kanglan Peak during that time. I sent a messenger butterfly to Licia, but she never replied, as if she didn't care at all if her only disciple died. Fortunately, Kanglan Peak is the place with the most abundant spiritual energy. In the Changhang sect, I immersed myself in cultivation every day, and time passed quickly. My only annoyance was when I sat properly on my bamboo bed, calming my mind to meditate, only to hear Nam An's shrill voice echoing from the courtyard. Master, this move is too hard. Can you hold my hand and teach me? Master, why am I so clumsy? I've practiced 3 times and still haven't learned it. I expressionlessly opened my door and saw Liu Ruyan teaching Nam An's sword moves. His sharp, fierce moves became weak and limp in Nam An's hands. Combined with his watery eyes, it looked like a pathetic attempt at flirting. I watched, amused. Doesn't Liu Ruyan hate incompetence? Every disciple he's taught has been a once-in-a-million peerless genius. This must be his first time dealing with someone like Nam An. I watched the drama for a bit until my hands got itchy. I kicked a tree branch up from the ground, lipped in front of Nam An, and said, Junior brother, let me spar with you. I joined the Changhang sect half a year before him, so calling him junior brother wasn't out of line. Nam An wanted to refuse, but my strikes were too fast. Every move was so sharp that he was forced to fight back. Half an hour later, I pinned the branch against his chest, smirked, and said, You lose. At that moment, the humiliation of him stepping on my face was finally washed away. Nam An's eyes turned red with rage. He threw his sword down in a fit of temper and snitched to Master. He just used your moves. He's secretly stealing your techniques. Kick him out already. That really made me laugh. Stealing such a basic move? You think everyone is as slow as you? Nam An's face went from red to blue. He was absolutely livid. He didn't even bother pretending to be cute and whiny anymore. He pulled out the 7-string zither and lunged straight at me. The wooden branch in my hand crumbled into dust in an instant. In the middle of the chaos, I saw Liu Ruyan behind him. Without saying a word, he pushed him out to block the blow. All right, Nam An, stop making a scene. Liu Ruyan helplessly raised a hand to calm him down, then shot a cold glance toward me. The world is full of talented people. You don't know your own place? Nam An is just a late bloomer. He won't necessarily fall behind you in the future. Why humiliate him like this? Hearing that, Nam An grinned ear to ear. Master is right. Baomu, how dare you bully me like that? Isn't it just because of a little sword Dao talent? But there are plenty of talented people. He doesn't have a master as great as you. What is there to be so arrogant about? Besides, you are a once-in-a-century genius. What right does he have to be so cocky in front of you? Ha ha ha. Before he could even finish his sentence, his face suddenly darkened. Seeing this, Nam An laughed and asked, What's wrong? Can't even handle a few words? Your soul is way too fragile. I bit my lip, but before I could even open my mouth, the sky, which was clear for miles, suddenly turned pitch black as dark clouds rolled in. In just a few breaths, a violent gale suddenly erupted. Thunder and lightning crashed. The surrounding cultivators all turned pale. What's happening? Why did the weather change like this? Our Kanglan Peak, doesn't it have great immortal Liu Ruyan's barrier? To keep it like spring all year, has the barrier failed? Liu Ruyan's usually calm face also showed a flicker of shock. He looked down at Nam An, then closed his eyes to start divining. In a hidden corner, where no one was paying attention, I sat cross-legged on the ground. I began to meditate right then and there. The surrounding spiritual energy surged into my body like crazy. I'm about to form my core. It wasn't until the first bolt of heavenly tribulation lightning struck my head that everyone realized something was wrong. They looked at me with disbelief. How can there be lightning? He's only undergoing the golden core tribulation. After the initial shock, Liu Ruyan, without a single word, cast a protective shield over me. Seeing this, Nam An pulled his arm and said dissatisfactorily, Master, he's not your disciple. Why are you protecting him? Liu Ruyan's lips pressed into a tight line. He stared at me for a long time. He is the child of heavenly fate. When the second bolt of heavenly lightning struck, the other elders of the Changhang sect all gathered at Kanglan Peak. They added another layer of protection over me. After confirming that I could withstand at least 3 bolts of lightning, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Now they evaluated me with uncertain shock. A normal cultivator only draws heavenly lightning when entering the nascent soul stage. Someone who can summon heavenly lightning at the golden core stage. From ancient times until now, there have only been 2. If I recall correctly, the first was the child of heavenly fate, Fu Ning, 500 years ago. But after his failure to ascend 100 years ago, he has completely vanished. The second person is Ruyan here. I thought this kid just had a bit of talent. I didn't expect him to be a child of heavenly fate too. Ruyan, back then when you formed your core, how many bolts did you summon? According to what they knew, the more bolts of lightning that strike, the higher the talent, the greater the favor of the heavenly Tao. With a boom, another bolt of heavenly lightning struck down. Liu Ruyan looked up at the pitch-black clouds. Seeing no sign of them clearing, he slowly spoke. 3 bolts. It's been 3 bolts already. Then Everyone looked at me with complicated expressions. As for me, I was currently immersed in my sea of consciousness, feeling the pain of my meridians being cleansed over and over again. I don't know how long had passed. Inside my once pitch-black dantian, a burst of golden light suddenly erupted. I opened my eyes and saw a massive golden core, floating in my dantian, round and shiny like a crystal ball. Though this was my first time forming a core, I had heard other disciples describe it. A normal golden core is only about the size of a chicken egg, but mine was ridiculously large. In that moment, I finally understood why Liu Ruyan insisted on gouging out my golden core to forge an immortal bone for Nam An. I was lost in my dantian, about to explore it further, when I suddenly heard a commotion near my ear. Out of the way, move it. My disciple is competing inside. It was Master. I have to go in and protect her. Don't block my path, you hear me? So what if I'm a loser? Bamu is still my disciple. Can't I go in to cheer her on and give her a boost? I opened my eyes to see 2 immortal envoys trying to stop. Someone jumping around like a monkey to squeeze through. It was Li Xia, along with over 10 pairs of eyes staring at me, showing expressions like they were looking at a discounted piece of pork. Those were the elders. Truly impressive. Hey, interested in switching masters? Back off. I got here first. If she's picking a master, she picks me. Amidst the noisy argument, Li Xia finally managed to squeeze in front of me. With the tone of a petty person who had just won big, she said, Give it a rest, you guys. She didn't even care for Liu Ruyan. So why would she take you as her masters? I blinked. That's right. My gaze drifted past Li Xia, toward Liu Ruyan and Nam An. For some reason, both their faces looked ugly in their own ways. I didn't know what happened, but I was in a great mood. I asked Li Xia, What's up? Why do they have expressions like they're constipated? Hearing this, Li Xia patted my shoulder. Isn't it because your core formation summoned heavenly lightning, shattering a certain someone's genius legend? That's why they're not happy. I paused and looked toward Liu Ruyan. He was the second child of heavenly fate in 500 years. Back then, his core formation summoned 3 bolts of heavenly lightning. I had heard of that event which shook the cultivation world. So how many bolts did I summon? Li Xia started counting on her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 9, she emphasized. Exactly 9. I was thrilled to hear it. I pointed at the 2 of them and spoke loudly. The world has countless talented people. But unfortunately, I'm not just more talented than Nam An. I'm even more talented than his master. In just one short day, I single-handedly caused a minor uproar in the Changhang sect. Of course, Li Xia became famous along with me. The disciples of Changhang sect called this incident Li Xia's rampage at Kanglan Peak. The situation at the time went like this. After Li Xia saw me insult Nam An, she suddenly plopped down on the ground like a village gossip and started wailing, "That damn Liu Ruyan." Taking my precious disciple was one thing, but subjecting her to such humiliation on your Kanglan Peak is another. You guys might look down on her, but I treat her like a treasure. She is my heart and soul. It was the first time Liu Ruyan had met a rogue, as thick-skinned as this woman. The veins in his temple throbbed repeatedly, like dancing fleas. After enduring it for a long while, he finally hissed through gritted teeth, "What do you want?" Li Xia wiped a tear while holding up 5 fingers. "This won't be settled without 50,000 high-grade spirit stones." Liu Ruyan took a deep breath, pulled them from his storage bag, and tossed them to Li Xia. 50,000 spirit stones. M.An's eyes turned red with fury, but he couldn't do anything to us. Now I'm the most sought-after person in the Changhang sect, and Li Xia is officially untouchable. M.An put on a wronged expression and turned to look at Liu Ruyan. "Master." Before he could even speak, Liu Ruyan suddenly shot him a cold glare. "Go back and reflect in seclusion. You are forbidden from leaving without my orders." Leaving those words behind, Liu Ruyan hurriedly departed. Before seeing Li Xia off Kanglan Peak, I casually asked about that heavy sword. "Wait, that actually happened?" "I just picked that sword up randomly at the foot of the mountain." "I knew it." After forming my core, I cultivated on Kanglan Peak for a few more days. One night while I was meditating, I suddenly heard an incredibly seductive female voice calling out, "Fellow Taoist, yep, Yatsi." I opened my eyes and saw a sword that was entirely crimson, etched with complex runes, floating right in front of my face. I almost blurted out, "Great sword! What kind of lame name is that?" She went silent for a moment, then said, "Whatever, as long as you're happy." I stood up to grab it, but remembered Liu Ruyan said it was a demon blade. I reached out, but pulled my hand back. Seeing this, the great sword laughed. "What are you afraid of? Do you actually believe what that female cultivator said?" "What do you mean?" "She lied to you. I'm no demon blade. I'm a divine sword from the great immortal demon war 10,000 years ago, drifted from the heaven realm to the demon realm. Because I was tainted by too much demonic energy in the abyss, my previous master sealed me. But now that demonic energy has vanished, once the seal is broken, I can re-emerge into the world. At that time, with me in your hand, you'll be invincible under the heavens." My eyes lit up. "That OP?" it said proudly. "Of course, if you hadn't formed your golden core, you wouldn't even be qualified to see my sword soul, let alone speak with me. However, that female cultivator wants to destroy my soul. I can't hold out much longer. Save me, quickly." "Really? Of course it's true. Hurry and break the formation to get me out." I let out an "oh" and flopped back onto the bed. "Why should I trust you? Do you take me for a 3-year-old? The great sword panicked, its sword soul flying back and forth around my head. Its mouth wouldn't stop rambling. "I'm a divine sword, one with a proper soul. If you don't trust me, who can you trust? Would a divine sword like me really go through the trouble of tricking a tiny, little male cultivator like you?" I nonchalantly scratched my leg. "Since you know I'm just a tiny male cultivator, what if you use me to break the seal and then turn on me?" The great sword pondered for a moment and replied through gritted teeth, "That won't happen. If you don't believe me, I'll sign a life and death pact with you. If I'm telling the truth, you get a divine sword. If I lie, you can destroy my soul at any time." Half an hour later, a red light flashed. The life and death pact was formed between my brows. A red rune immediately appeared there, then faded away. According to the great sword, the rune only shows up when I summon the soul. But since I want to save you, the one who set the formation is Liu Ruyan. I'm no match for him. The great sword regained its seductive, slightly smug tone. "That's not hard." When he came into contact with me, I saw that his true form is a spirit snake. I know this species well. On the 15th of every month, their cold poison flares up. They need the refinement of a heat-conducting rune to neutralize the poison. You just have to wait for his flare-up. Peel that rune off, and the poison will invade, weakening his cultivation. Then, I'll break the formation myself. My eyes widened. "Wait a minute. Big sister, are you telling me to finish this job and then die immediately?" The great sword replied helplessly, "This is the easiest way I can think of. If you really can't do it, then go fight him one-on-one. Just wound him, and I can break the seal. I'd better figure out how to get close to him on the 15th. Time flew by, and soon, the 15th arrived. The entire Kanglan Peak was shrouded in a tense atmosphere. At nightfall, I walked boldly toward Liu Ruyan's room, but was blocked at the door. "Young Master Bei, the great immortal is not seeing guests today. Please come back another time." I blinked. Is his cold poison flaring up? "I know everything." The two guards looked at each other. "How do you know about this?" "Don't you worry about that, though." I acted mysterious, leaning in close to whisper to them. "Do you know that when cold poison flares up, You need a counter element to neutralize it? We know. The Great Immortal has a fire rune. Tisk tisk tisk. That's where you're wrong. A fire rune can only warm the body, not the heart. This is the reason Great Immortal Liu Ruyan called me inside today. Hey! I gave them a light, playful punch. Do you really have to make me spell it out? Liu Ruyan brought me in because he wants to get intimate. Got it? I brushed them aside. Move it! He's going to get impatient. Oh, right. This is a private, secret matter between us. Don't you dare go spreading it around. Saying that, before they could react, I slipped right inside. It was very hot inside Liu Ruyan's room. I stealthily crept toward his bedchamber and saw him lying on the bed, drenched in sweat. I couldn't tell if it was from the poison or the heat. He looked extremely weak. His senses were so dull he didn't even notice I had arrived. I tried walking back and forth to test him. He didn't wake up. Good. I cautiously reached out. He was still fast asleep. Great. I looked down. Sure enough, there was a talisman stuck to his waist. I bit my lip, snatched the talisman, and tucked it away. I gave Liu Ruyan a silent farewell bow, then turned to creep back out. While I was immersed in my success, I didn't notice that behind me, Liu Ruyan, who had his eyes tightly shut, suddenly snapped them open. Those eyes, usually so cold, now had vertical pupils glowing with a dark, chilling red light. The next second, my world spun, and I was pinned to the floor by Liu Ruyan. He approached me step by step, oozing an eerie, seductive aura. He didn't look like the cold, pure immortal of the past at all. Liu Ruyan, are you even listening to me? Liu Nuyan, do you hear me? Perhaps because the pressure was too immense, I immediately tore it off while trembling. The rune I had just snatched from him. Liu Ruyan's vertical pupils fixed on the rune, his deep red lips curled up into a faint laugh. Immediately after, he lightly raised his hand, and the rune in my palm instantly crumbled, shattering into tiny pieces. Liu Ruyan and I fell into a violent struggle. He completely suppressed me. Those ice-cold hands squeezed my neck tightly. His vertical pupils were filled with a chilling, murderous intent. At this moment, Liu Ruyan didn't seem human at all, but more like a venomous snake. My face turned bright red, veins bulging wildly. Just as I was about to be strangled to death, the great sword's soul suddenly emerged from my body. I'm coming to save you! It then lunged straight at Liu Ruyan's head. It was actually quite useful. The red glow was sucked out of Liu Ruyan, and he fainted. I hurriedly grabbed the great sword, shoved it into my storage bag, and scrambled to escape the room. Behind me were the sympathetic looks of two immortal attendants. The great immortal really doesn't know how to treat a lady. Look at the state young Master Bei was worked into. I spent 2 days hiding in fear all over Kanglam Peak, only to see Liu Ruyan acting as if nothing had happened. The great sword spoke up pensively. Logically, he should have his memories. Why hasn't he come to pick a fight with you? I'm already living in a nightmare. You seem quite eager for him to come harass me. The great sword rubbed against me flatteringly. Of course not. I've already placed a stand-in within the formation. He won't notice for a short while, but it's hard to say in the long run. We should still find a way to leave first. I nodded. In the afternoon, I got up to find Liu Ruyan to discuss leaving. Who would have thought that as soon as I stepped out, I'd see the usually desolate Kanglan Peak, now decked out in brilliant lights and flowers bustling with life. It looked like they were preparing for a festival. When things are abnormal, there must be a demon afoot. Did Sister Liu Ruyan have some kind of breakdown? I guiltily asked an attendant what was going on. The attendant replied with a joyful smile. Young Master Bei might not know yet. The great immortal suddenly announced he wants to become Dao companions with young Master Nam An. Everyone is redecorating Kanglan Peak. They plan to hold the wedding for the two of them. The news of their marriage quickly spread throughout the entire Changhang sect. Nam An was beyond smug. Everywhere he went, he bragged about his title as the great immortal's husband. He probably wished he could carve those words onto his forehead. Time flew by, and soon it was time for the minor secret realm trial to open. Although Liu Ruyan's marriage was important, it had to be set aside for the sect's major events. Their wedding would have to wait until after the secret realm trial was concluded. According to the rules, all disciples below the nascent soul stage must participate in the trial. Whether you're the great immortal spouse or whoever, everyone was treated the same on the day the gates opened. All cultivators were summoned to the square. With teary eyes, Nam An grabbed Liu Ruyan's hand. He called out coquettishly, Master, you must make sure to miss me. Liu Ruyan expressionlessly pulled his hand away and walked off. His gaze accidentally met mine. I instinctively shivered and clutched my collar tight. That damn Liu Ruyan, the bruises from him choking me last time, still hadn't faded after all this time. His gaze lingered on my neck, his brow furrowing slightly and discreetly. This scene caught Nam An's eye. His eyes were clouded with a thick layer of gloom. The way he looked at me, it was as if he wanted to tear me apart and swallow me whole. Moments later, a white light flashed before my eyes. I slowly opened my eyes. I was somehow hanging suspended in a tree. Beneath the tree were the lingering traces of a formation that hadn't yet faded. From within the formation's eye, I could vaguely see the faces of Beiji and Nam-an. Those two had their heads together, acting all sneaky. Is this teleportation formation really going to work? It will teleport Beimu to the most dangerous place in the entire secret realm. Once he's there, will he even have a life left to make it back out? Beside me, the heavy sword vibrated slightly. No need to ask to know where this is. The center of the secret realm, the Valley of 10,000 Demons. Pick any random small beast here and it's at least nascent soul level. Before I could even curse, the tree I was dangling from began to shake violently. I reflexively looked up, only to meet a pair of clouded murky eyes. It was the 10,000-year-old tree demon. Its cultivation was roughly near the spirit severing stage. Quick question, what are my odds of winning this fight? Run for your life. As soon as it spoke, I jumped down from the branch. I scrambled away on all fours. Behind me, countless branches lunged at me like crazy, smacking my butt several times. While running for my life, I suddenly turned around and ran back. What are you doing? Do you want to die? Look at what's in front of us first. The great sword poked its hilt out to take a look, then gasped, a 10,000-year sun lizard demon. Before long, I turned in another direction. The great sword immediately said, a 10,000-year snake demon. Cultivation level also near spirit severing. I broke down in tears. In less than half a stick of incense's time. What did I do to deserve offending so many great demon beasts? That wasn't all. I had a premonition. Something even scarier is charging this way. As soon as it spoke, the ground began to shake violently and repeatedly. Hearing that, I expressionlessly flopped onto the ground. What are you doing? Just lying there to die? Don't be like that. Actually, it's not like there's no way out. You can go back to that tree from earlier. Their formation won't hold for long. At most, in another few moments, it will teleport you back. Do you think I can survive another few moments? Not far away, a violent roar erupted. Immediately after, the sky turned dark. Rustling sounds echoed all around. I lay still like a fish on a chopping block. Very quickly, I was surrounded. Countless demon eyes were staring at me. Hey, big brothers and sisters. See how many of you there are? I alone am not enough to share between you all. Plus, my cultivation is trash. Eating me won't help your cultivation progress at all. Demon beasts at nascent soul and above have already gained sentience. I believe you can understand what I'm saying. Even if you let me go, there's no benefit for you. But they didn't say anything. Instead, they all stared in unison at the great sword in my hand. I understood instantly. Oh, so you want this thing? Then you can have it. I'm out of here. With that, I threw the great sword far away and sprinted toward the center of the formation. The great sword shrieked betrayal behind my back. Beimue, you damn bastard, I hate you. After that, her scream was drowned out by the roaring. As a divine sword, the spiritual energy gathered on its blade was extremely powerful, and the demon beasts lunged in to fight for it. But there were countless demon beasts and only one divine sword. Who could actually take it? Naturally, they had to fight over it. So, before I could even reach the formation, a violent commotion suddenly erupted behind me. Even the ground shook along with it. In mid-air, several dark figures were locked in a chaotic brawl. Their strikes were fast and lethal. Wild spiritual energy filled the entire area. I hesitated for a moment, then began to meditate right where I stood. Fortune favors the bold, after all. It would be a waste not to use all this spiritual energy. Not long after, the demon beast brawl reached its conclusion. The tree demon was the first to fall. Next was the lizard demon, and that snake demon was also badly injured. It collapsed to the ground, gasping for air for a long time, unable to even lift its tail. Right at that moment, a golden light flashed behind me. The teleportation formation had reopened. I practically bolted upright. Immediately, I gritted my teeth and glanced at that snake demon. I slapped a speed haste talisman on myself and charged straight into the middle of the battlefield. I snatched back the heavy sword. The snake demon let out a furious hiss, but it was too heavily wounded to have any strength left to hunt me down. I ran 2 steps and then suddenly accelerated. The great sword urged me, "What are you dazed for? Do you want to wait for other demon beasts to chase you down?" I didn't say anything and leaped onto its back. Aiming right for the snake demon's 7-inch vital spot, I suddenly plunged the sword in. After an ear-piercing screech, "You're truly insane." I still didn't answer. I leaned over to pick up 3 demon cores from the ground. Hoisting the great sword onto my back, I didn't look back and jumped into the portal. Outside the Valley of 10,000 Demons, Beiji and Nam-an were walking smugly. So that's that. That bastard Beimue is definitely dead as a doornail. Baijai was a bit worried. Us doing that? Was it too cruel? What if the elders find out? Nam-an shot him a glare. What are you afraid of? I'm Liu Ruyun's husband. What would they dare do to me? If anyone's to blame, it's Beimue himself. Who told him to get close to my master and provoke me? He got what he deserved. Before he could finish, golden light suddenly flashed behind them. I lunged out from the teleportation formation, carrying a burning rage. I delivered a full power kick to Nam-an's back, sending him flying 10 meters away. Bai Jai was so scared he jumped. He spun around, about to scream for help, but the next second, I had the heavy sword at his throat. I'll give you a chance to say 3 last words. How could you have escaped? No, no. This has nothing to do with me. Bei Mu, are you trying to murder a fellow disciple? As soon as he finished speaking, I let out a cold sneer, then swung my hand and decisively slit his throat. Next, I wiped the blood off my shoulder and looked coldly at Nam An. Your turn. The great sword flew up and hovered right above Nam An's head. He shrieked in terror until his voice cracked. Wasn't this sword sealed by Master? Why is it in your hands? Bei Mu, you dare steal the sword? If Master finds out, you're dead. I stepped in front of him. Who else besides you would know? As long as you're dead, no one will know. You want to kill me? You can't kill me! Who do you think you are? What right do you have? I knew all too well that villains usually die from talking too much. So I swung the great sword without any hesitation and stabbed it straight into him. Nam An died, but Nam An came back to life. I never saw this coming. Liu Ruyan had actually formed a heart-linking bond with him. The moment he closed his eyes, a heart-linking bond activated. He and I were transported back to the square. Liu Ruyan unceremoniously unleashed a palm strike, pushing me back. His gaze was cold enough to turn into ice shards. Bei Mu, you murdered a fellow disciple. Possessing a demon blade, do you know your crimes? I spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Trying my best to prop myself up, I sneered. Murdering a fellow disciple? Who exactly harmed whom first? Liu Ruyan, I've never seen anyone as shameless as you. Your precious disciple is allowed to hurt me, but I'm not allowed to fight back? You still dare to make excuses? Liu Ruyan suddenly waved his hand, striking me directly with a spell. I hurriedly raised my sword to block, but in a flash, I was sent flying 3 meters back. I slammed hard onto the marble floor. The other elders couldn't bear to watch, and spoke up to intervene. Beiji's life is enough to pay for his crime. They framed Bei Mu and pushed him into the Valley of 10,000 Demons. Nam An is also unharmed. How about we just let it go? After all, he is someone who survived 9 bolts of heavenly lightning. He's been tempered into a child of heavenly fate. A child of heavenly fate? Liu Ruyan shot me a cold sidelong glance. Suddenly, he flipped his hand and performed a hand seal. A thunderous vibration echoed through the square. A massive pillar of heaven slowly rose up behind me. Sentiment might forgive, but the law cannot. If he surrenders the demon blade and endures 10 lashes from the bone-whipping flail, I will spare him. I was tied to the pillar of heaven. Countless people surrounded me in the center. The other elders seemed like they still wanted to plead for mercy, but Liu Ruyan didn't hesitate to pull out a purple-black flail. He then stepped in front of me. I was heavily injured and struggled to lift my head to look at him. Even facing death, I could still laugh. Liu Ruyan looked at me coldly. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing because you're an idiot. Liu Ruyan frowned. I spoke through the pain. I thought not taking you as my master would avoid the fate shown in the heavenly mirror. But you will definitely regret this. Liu Ruyan, what do you mean by the heavenly mirror? I spat out some blood and spilled it all. Don't you want to become Tao companions with that piece of trash? But your lifespan is nearly 10,000 years, while he can only live 100 years at most. He cannot cultivate an immortal bone. The two of you are destined not to be together forever. Do you want to know how to reforge an immortal bone for him? Liu Ruyan instinctively asked me back. How? I smiled deviously, like I'd ever tell you. With that, I suddenly reached into my storage bag. Before Liu Ruyan could react, I crushed those 3 demon cores. Immediately, dark clouds rolled in as a fierce gale erupted, and countless bolts of lightning gathered above my head. The elders below all turned pale at once. This isn't the tribulation for the nascent soul stage, it's the spirit severing stage. Even 1,000 years later, when cultivators recall this heavenly tribulation, their hearts will still be shaken by the word terrifying. Too terrifying. Even though this tribulation was aimed at me, it was so aggressive it still affected everyone else. And to withstand the lightning tribulation, they had to activate every defensive treasure they had over their heads. After all, while I was ascending, I could still hide within my own sea of consciousness. At most, my physical body would be battered to a pulp, but they had no choice but to take it head on. Everyone was busy defending themselves, while staring at me in absolute terror. Jumping directly from the Golden Core stage to the Spirit Severing stage, what kind of monstrous cultivation speed is this? Those 3 demon cores I crushed earlier, individually, they were all at the late nascent soul stage. No wonder I could leapfrog 2 major realms at once. This is insane. The pressure from this lightning tribulation is overwhelming. In my 400 years of living, this is the first time I've witnessed such a thing. Liu Ruyan's face darkened as he looked at the lightning in the sky. He immediately erected a protective barrier around himself. Nam An, shielded in his arms, spoke to Liu Ruyan with eyes full of malice. Master, we can't let him succeed in his tribulation. Can you go kill him? please? It's too late. With lightning this terrifying, even he didn't dare to recklessly charge in. I don't know how much time passed before I suddenly opened my eyes, puffing out a cloud of black smoke. My entire body had been charred black by the lightning. The ropes binding me had long since snapped. I fell straight down from the pillar of heaven. Mid-fall, someone suddenly caught me. It was Licia. She couldn't stop hissing in pain. Ow, ow, you're burning hot! Despite that, she didn't let go of me. I couldn't help but choke out emotionally. Master. She looked at me deeply. You're actually qualified to be my master now. I landed on the ground and glanced at Liu Ruyan, along with his flail that had been shattered into several pieces. Oh my, it broke? The quality is pretty trash, huh? Nam-An's eyes turned red with rage. Beimu! You still dare to provoke, master? You think you're safe now? If you're fine, then continue your punishment. I swept my gaze over him. What right do you have to punish me? Just by the fact that I am Liu Ruyan's husband. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Husband? Forget being a husband. Even if it were Liu Ruyan himself. Why don't you ask him if he can do anything to me now? He looked at me with a complicated expression. True, even though my current cultivation was still one level below his, given my cultivation speed and talent, surpassing him was only a matter of time. In the cultivation world, power is the only truth, even if he is an elder. Before long, the other elders gathered around. With talent like mine, they were obviously scrambling to recruit me. However, my expression remained unchanged. I wiped the soot off my hands and said, staying is fine, but I don't want to be in the same sect as them, so either I leave, or they leave. I pointed my sword tip toward Liu Ruyan and Nam-An. I'll give you 3 sentences worth of time to choose. Nam-An spoke first. Beimu, don't push your luck, I repeated. 3 sentences to choose. An elder chimed in. Do you want scriptures or treasures? We can grant you anything. But Ruyan is vital to the Changhang sect. We cannot lose him. How about we arrange a place for you? A bit further away from Kanglan Peak? After the 3 sentences, I sheathed my sword and nodded. Fine, I get it. Having said that, I turned to leave. Liu Ruyan's eyes flashed. He said coldly, you can go if you want, but that trashy sword stays here. As soon as he finished, he made a sudden move, aiming straight for my sword hand. As he lunged, my cultivation was still one level below his after all. Plus, my combat experience didn't match his. In less than 10 moves, Liu Ruyan had snatched the sword. I was fuming. I have already decided to leave the sect. You no longer have the right to control me. Give me back my sword. If this sword is unleashed, it will harm your cultivation. I'm doing this for your own good. Liu Ruyan glanced at me and suddenly formed a seal. He actually dared to force the sword soul out on the spot to destroy it. The sword soul shrieked and lunged straight toward me, slashing my storage bag open in a few moves. A snake scale slid out from the bag. Liu Ruyan, who had been expressionless, suddenly showed a look of utter shock. He stared at that snake scale in disbelief. His gaze darted between my face and Nam-An's, scanning back and forth twice as his brow furrowed deeply. That night on the 15th, the one who entered my room. He struggled to speak, his voice raspy. Was it really you, Beimu? I picked up the snake scale and gave him a confused look. One look and you'd know. If not me, then who? This snake scale? I had plucked this scale from Liu Ruyan during our fight. Thinking his cultivation was profound, I figured I could use this to perhaps forge a defensive artifact. That's why I'd kept it until now. Unexpectedly, after seeing the scale, Liu Ruyan went into a frenzy, lunging forward to grab my wrist. Why didn't you tell me, Yo? Why was it you? Why did it have to be you? Liu Ruyan suddenly started acting crazy, crying one moment and laughing the next, which actually creeped me out. Suddenly, he waved his hand, pinning Nam-An in mid-air. Nam-An couldn't believe it. Master, Liu Ruyan said coldly, you lied to me. He spat out every word. The one in my room that day wasn't you. The one who took my heart-protecting scale wasn't you. The one who broke our destiny was definitely not you. I cut him off, hurriedly saying, wait, let's get one thing straight. We only had one fight. I didn't do anything else. And I definitely didn't break your destiny. Don't go pinning random labels on me, especially ones that ruin my reputation and purity. You know exactly what happened, so stop talking nonsense. Spreading rumors is free, but it's not cheap. Can't you see my master standing there with a green face? Licia clenched her fists, her knuckles cracking. You'd better explain this clearly. Liu Ruyan glanced at me and then looked away. When he spoke, the tips of his ears were bright red. Though we haven't shared a bed, you removed my heart-protecting scale and touched my body, so our destiny is sealed. At that time, my mind wasn't clear. I didn't see who it was. When I woke up, I saw Nam-An and thought it was him because he was acting so vague. While I was still lost in thought, wondering what exactly was wrong with Liu Ruyan, he suddenly spoke. Now that the truth is out, let us become Dao companions and cultivate together. It will benefit both our cultivations. Then let's become cultivation partners and practice together. It would be beneficial for both our cultivation bases. Wait, your logic is jumping way too far. You were just trying to kill me, big guy. Why are we suddenly talking about becoming Dao companions? I asked, while Liu Ruyan looked at me like it was obvious. Our destiny was tied by your hand. Don't you have to take responsibility for me? What if I don't want to? Do you even have any other choice besides me? Becoming Dao companions with me is your best bet. That way, you won't have to leave the Changhang sect anymore. As for the past, I can slowly apologize to you. I smirked, really wanting to crack his head open, to see if it was filled with tofu dregs. I'll pass. Liu Ruyan's brow furrowed. Why? Why do you keep rejecting me? Come to think of it, ever since the day you became my disciple, you've always rejected me. Just why is that? You literally tried to kill me, and you have the nerve to ask why? I looked at Liu Ruyan like he was a mental patient. Suddenly feeling exhausted, it felt like we weren't even on the same communication wavelength. I didn't intend to kill you. It was because you made a mistake that I acted. Liu Ruyan explained, then suddenly remembered something. His eyes flashed as he looked toward the heavenly mirror. He said slowly, your abnormal behavior started right after you stepped out of the heavenly mirror. And earlier on the pillar of heaven, you also mentioned the images in the heavenly mirror. Bei Mu, what exactly did you see? I turned my face away. That doesn't matter. What matters is... Liu Ruyan, I don't want to be your Dao companion. Your precious Nam An is about to cry over there. Just stay with him. Liu Ruyan glanced at the youth, Nam An, standing behind him. Looking pitiful, Nam An said reluctantly, Master, do you not want me anymore? He sighed, but there wasn't a ripple of emotion in his eyes. Sometimes I find him truly strange. If you say he likes Nam An, his eyes are always cold when looking at him. But if you say he doesn't, he breaks his own rules for Nam An every single time. Liu Ruyan withdrew his gaze and suddenly said, I understand. He told the elders to open the heavenly mirror. I want to go in and see what Bei Mu saw. Hearing this, the elders' expressions all changed. For cultivators with high levels like them to enter the heavenly mirror, they would surely see through the secrets of heaven. And seeing the secrets of heaven isn't necessarily a good thing. But Liu Ruyan's mind was made up. Once the heavenly mirror opened, he jumped right in. Before entering, he grabbed my hand and said with absolute certainty, Wait for me to come out. Wait for him? I watched his silhouette vanish into the heavenly mirror. With an expressionless face, I picked up my storage bag and great sword. I made a run for it immediately. In a world filled with swirling sand, Liu Ruyan struggled to open his eyes. He was in a soul state, floating in midair, looking down at a thin, lonely youth below. One man and one sword against 10,000 demon beasts. He was practically gambling with his life. Finally, he obtained the Demon King's core. Handing it to the reinforcement cultivators, he said weakly, Save Master. Save Master? Then he was swallowed by the beast tide. Relying on that dark red sword, he survived the demon realm. Relying on sheer willpower and using demonic energy to reforge his body, he finally found a chance to escape. But the master he risked his life to save, the Liu Ruyan he respected the most, stabbed a sword straight through his chest. They called him a demon. His eyes turned blood red. Liu Ruyan watched himself gouge out his own disciple's core. The youth's bright eyes slowly closed forever. Nam An stood behind them, wearing a smug smile. Finally got his core. This powerful core, Liu Ruyan, oh Liu Ruyan. Did you really think I liked you? You had no idea that back then in the Frost Cave, the one who transferred chi to save your life wasn't me. It was that idiot Bei Mu. The sound of Liu Ruyan crawling out of the heavenly mirror echoed. He collapsed to the ground and everyone rushed to support him. Liu Ruyan raised his hand and said coldly, No need. At this moment, Nam An cried out and ran over. Master, you're finally out. You scared Nam An to death. Before he could finish his sentence, a long sword pierced through his chest. Liu Ruyan, face emotionless, channeled magic into the sword. A single strike killed Nam An. He fell in disbelief, and even in death, he didn't understand why Liu Ruyan killed him. As for Liu Ruyan, after killing Nam An, his body swayed violently, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. I carried my great sword, wandering aimlessly. The great sword suddenly spoke, Master. My eyelid twitched. Whenever it calls me that, it's plotting something. Not interested. Don't even try to trick me, it sighed. If you don't want to go, then forget it. Although the Demon King's core can help you level up, it's not that easy to get anyway. I gritted my teeth and said, Where is it? Lead the way. Amidst the golden desert, I swung my hand and sliced a giant ant in half. With a mouthful of sand, I couldn't help but swear. That damn Demon King, is he a turtle? Why is he hiding so well? I've killed so many minions. He still won't come out. Once I find you, I'll tie your whiskers into a ball and kick it around the ground. The ground suddenly shook. The Demon King was out and he was very angry. The great sword and I looked at each other. Was it signaling me? Run! Run my ass! I gripped my sword and turned around. ready for a showdown with the Demon King. His cultivation was quite a bit higher than mine, but my spirit severing stage wasn't for show. I fought while looking for a weakness, absorbing the cores of other demon beasts around. The more we fought, the more hyped I got. My cultivation level showed signs of an imminent breakthrough. With a stoic face, I stood back up. The Demon King seemingly didn't expect me to be this fierce. After thinking for a few seconds, he actually chose to flee. But how could I give him the chance? My fingers slid across the blade as I delivered the final strike. The golden sand settled in an instant. The sky returned to a clear blue. I pulled the core out from the body. The Demon King slowly breathed his last. This battle consumed too much spiritual energy. I could barely stand anymore. Right then, footsteps approached from not far away. Don't be afraid, let's hurry and take the core back to the immortal. Liu Ruoyan is counting on us. I couldn't hear the rest clearly. My vision went dark and I passed out. When I woke up, I was in a massive sacrificial altar, surrounded by complex runes. I was lying right in the center. Directly in front of me lay Liu Ruoyan. The other elders sat in 8 directions around the altar, staring at me with grim faces. The elders looked at me with reluctant eyes. Beimu, don't blame us. Liu Ruoyan's frost poison has seeped into his marrow. There is no other way to save him. Without the Demon King's core, he won't be able to hold on. I propped up my sword, intending to break this formation, but realized my spiritual energy was rapidly draining away. I could only open my mouth and say, "What's that got to do with me?" The elders looked at me with eyes full of hesitation. The Demon King's core is within you, and you are the child of heavenly fate. With your empowerment, Liu Ruoyan will definitely be fine. Don't blame us. Once the formation is complete, at most, you'll just lose your spiritual energy and become an ordinary person from now on. But Liu Ruoyan can live, and he can sustain the Changhang sect. For us, there are 100 benefits and 0 harm. Bai Mu, just consider this a sacrifice for the Changhang sect, to bring us prosperity. I almost burst out laughing. Based on what? They furrowed their brows and looked at me in confusion. I gripped the Demon King's core in my hand. I smiled and asked, "Based on what do I have to sacrifice myself? To bring you prosperity? Why not sacrifice all of you to bring prosperity to me?" Bei Mu, what do you mean by that? What makes you think a measly little sacrificial altar could ever trap me? I thought the only people I should hate were Liu Ruoyan and that piece of trash. Now, it seems no one in the Changhang sect deserves forgiveness. Since that's the case, I slowly applied pressure, crushing the core, then you can all just go to hell. As soon as I finished, a beam of golden light suddenly shot straight into the sky. Immediately after, a dark purple sky pressed down instantly. The third heavenly tribulation is coming. I smiled and stood up, spreading both arms wide. Ha 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 ha. During the first tribulation, Liu Ruoyan tried to harm me. During the second tribulation, I almost died at your hands. I wonder if this third time, you'll be able to survive it. The moment I finished speaking, a bolt of lightning as thick as a waist, carrying the force of 10,000 armies, suddenly struck down. 2, then 3 more massive bolts crashed down in succession. In the entire Changhang sect, not a single soul escaped except for me. And I, holding the great sword that had long since broken its seal, its entire body radiating a deep crimson glow, slowly stepped down from the sacrificial altar. I smiled as I walked toward the elders and swung my blade down. In the end, the entire Changhang sect was reduced to a pile of ruins. And I, carrying my great sword, stood atop the wreckage, swinging my blade down. In the end, the entire Changhang sect was reduced to a pile of ruins. And I, carrying my great sword, stood atop the wreckage, welcoming the dawning sunrise. In those brilliant rays of light, I looked at the group of dazed surviving cultivators below, and slowly broke into a smile. From this day forward, the Changhang sect no longer exists in this world. They stared at me, stunned. Not far away, Licia sat on a large boulder, resting her chin on her hand with a blade of grass in her mouth, looking at me with a beaming smile. The Changhang sect is gone from this world. From now on, I only recognize Bei Mu. After she said that, she suddenly waved her hand and seemed to evaporate from the world, vanishing right before my eyes. I stood there dazed. Suddenly, I don't know who started it, but everyone abruptly knelt down toward me. They took the posture of worshipping a deity. The sword spirit told me to sheathe my sword. Looking at the scene before me, I let out a soft laugh. Fine, swinging my blade down, until the entire Changhang sect was finally reduced to a pile of ruins. And I, carrying my great sword, stood atop the wreckage, welcoming the dawn. In those brilliant rays of light, I looked at the group of dazed surviving cultivators below, and slowly broke into a smile. From this day forward, the Changhang sect no longer exists in this world. It will be a new life, free and independent.